This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Fire fines. Nova Scotia has handed out $1 million in tickets, but how much has actually been collected? World Cup competition. This Halifax firefighter is in England playing rugby for Team Canada. And wagon wheels. How a mobile van is helping dogs exercise and stay cool.
Midsummer heat and humidity in September, and it'll peak on Saturday with a better chance for showers rolling in on Sunday. Your full forecast is coming up.
Good evening. The money collected from Nova Scotians accused of breaking the province's burn ban is falling short. Despite issuing more than $1 million in fines and fees for violating fire restrictions over the past 3 years, Nova Scotia has so far only collected 12% of that amount. According to figures provided by the provincial government, about $118,000 has been collected since 2023. But about $1 million worth of fines and fees were issued, or 35 tickets. Just under half of those led to convictions. But a criminologist says he's encouraged by those figures and that the hefty fine is working for the government. Michael Boudreau of St. Thomas University says collecting fines is not an easy task.
But a $25,000 fine, but most Canadians do not have that access to that kind of money right away. They might be able to pay it over installments, which is why, in many senses, these fines are meant to be deterrents.
The province's $25,000 fine for violating burn restrictions was made permanent in May. So what happens when you get a $25,000 fire or woods ban ticket? The CBC's Allie Thompson explains the process.
Just because you've been issued a $25,000 ticket for violating Nova Scotia's fire or woods restrictions doesn't necessarily mean you'll pay that full amount. The fine was put in place to prevent wildfires like the one that started here near Susie Lake in Halifax. But what happens after someone is issued a ticket? Sure, you can pay the full amount, including taxes and fees, but there are other options. The first alternative is to challenge the ticket in court by filing a notice of intention to appear before the due date on the ticket and plead not guilty. It would then go to trial before a provincial court judge and be prosecuted. Another option would be to file a notice of intention to appear, plead guilty, and ask to make submissions about the penalty. A judge would hear the case and decide on the penalty. A prosecutor would be there to represent the public's interests, confirm the facts, and respond to submissions about the penalty. The judge does have some discretion on what penalty will be imposed, whether it can be paid in installments, and the amount of time the offender has to pay a fine. But it depends on the context of the case.
Given all the considerations and the ongoing fight against wildfires in Nova Scotia, a judge would probably say, well, sorry, but this has to happen. This fine is right for the context, therefore it stands. I'm not going to lower it. But in a different context, and depending on what the individual says, if they appear in court and explain their financial situation, a judge may take that into consideration as well and drop the fine. But again, very much case-by-case basis.
The third option isn't exactly a good one. If you do not pay the ticket by the due date or start any kind of court challenge, you may receive an automatic conviction. And it's never a good idea to simply ignore your ticket.
That's a rather naive approach to take, because if you do not pay the fine and if you do not challenge it in court, then you could be arrested and you could then have a criminal record for not paying it.
The $25,000 fine for violating burn restrictions was made permanent in May 2025. So make sure to check the province's daily burn restriction map before starting a fire, so it doesn't end up being a very expensive one. Allie Thompson, CBC News, Halifax.
A pregnant couple who lost their home to the Long Lake wildfire in Annapolis County have had their baby. Michael Zeman and Megan Yelland spoke to CBC about their situation over the last couple of weeks. They had been renovating their dream house for months to get it ready for when their first child, when they were told to evacuate. Their daughter, Jade Wendy Zeman, came just days after they moved into their temporary rental home. The couple says the support from the community has been overwhelming.
It's been nothing short of incredible. Really, our hearts, we're so full and we're so grateful for everything everybody has done. It sort of lifted us out of the ashes, and we can only focus on Jade right now, and that's all we need.
Yelland and Zeman moved to Nova Scotia from Montreal this year. Despite everything that has happened, they say their dream to raise a family in the province is alive now more than ever. Former IWK Health Centre CEO Tracy Leanne Kitch has been convicted for a second time of defrauding the hospital. In a decision delivered in provincial court today, a judge said there was sufficient evidence to convict Kitch of fraud over $5,000 for charging more than $43,000 in personal expenses to her corporate credit card. Most of the personal expenditures were flights. Kitch had originally been convicted in February of 2022 and sentenced to 5 months in jail, but that conviction was overturned on appeal. Kitch has reimbursed the hospital for the expenses. All right, Ryan, the weekend is here, and it sounds like a warm one.
Yeah, it is definitely going to be hot and humid for Saturday especially. That's when the temperatures will peak. Thanks so much, Amy, as we look at the highs on Saturday. And the fog is going to be, stubborn. It's going to take a while to get the engine rolling. Once the sun does rise, the fog will mix out, retreat back to the coast, and we're looking at a mix of sun and cloud. Those southwesterly winds pumping temperatures into the mid to high 20s, even a few 30s out through the valley. And again, feeling more like the low to mid 30s when we're factoring in the humidity. Now, temperatures won't be quite as warm on Sunday, but the humidity will be very much sticky and in place yet again, and a good chance for some scattered showers tracking through Saturday night and in through Sunday and into Sunday night. Here comes that wet weather off to the south and west. Of course, we are looking at just hits and misses of these showers, so it's not going to be a blanket, but it does look like we will see about 10 to 20 millimeters from this system generally, and then drying out, clearing out, and back to seasonal air next week. Your full 7 days coming up, Amy.
All right, we will chat soon. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Well, Nova Scotia Power is receiving backlash for its proposal to raise its prices in the next 2 years. The utility notified the Provincial Energy Board this week about the plan, which would raise residential rates by 4.1% annually for the next 2 years and commercial and industrial rates by 2.1%. Josie Rutterham with the South Shore Open Doors Association works with people who are energy insecure. She says things are hard enough for Nova Scotians.
If you don't pay your electricity bill, they are going to cut off your power. And so those things are necessary things that have to get paid. And so you end up in a situation where there has to be a trade-off. There's just not enough money coming into the household. So people often don't renew their prescriptions, or they're unable to shop for groceries and they have to access a food bank.
The utility says it will apply to the Energy Board later this month. Ports around Nova Scotia will have to undergo some big, costly upgrades to support an offshore wind industry. That's according to a new study commissioned by the nonprofit group Net Zero Atlantic. It says it will take years and hundreds of millions of dollars per port to bring them up to par. Net Zero Atlantic's research director says even though there's a lot of work to be done, the findings are good news.
The offshore wind industry is often constrained in other jurisdictions by the lack of available ports and the lack of available space to develop ports. And Atlantic Canada has really shown in this study that we have a lot of space and we have a lot of existing port sites that can be ready for the offshore wind industry with a bit of additional investment. So overall, very encouraging results.
Nova Scotia is aiming to start its first round of licensing for offshore wind projects later this year. Halifax has a new plan to protect hemlock trees from an invasive species. The woolly adelgid has been killing hemlocks in the province for nearly a decade, but was only spotted in Halifax 2 years ago. Municipal staff would see hemlocks injected with an insecticide lasting about 5 years. Hemlocks in 15 municipal parks would be treated first. Bedford's Sandy Lake Park is first on the list because the insect has already been found there. Well, a firefighter is part of Team Canada's roster competing for the biggest prize in women's rugby. Olivia de Marchand is among the country's top players currently in England, where the Sports World Cup is being held, and she's getting lots of support from her colleagues and teammates here in Nova Scotia. Gareth Hampshire has that story.
The Upper Tantallon Fire Department's missing one of its members at the moment. Instead of gearing up here, Olivia de Marchand's tackling another challenge, representing Team Canada at the Rugby World Cup.
It means so much to me to be representing my country.
This is her 4th World Cup, and she's made the national team's roster while working as a professional firefighter.
You do a lot of teamwork, you do a lot of problem solving, there's a lot of heavy lifting and a lot of endurance training in both rugby and firefighting, so it's very translatable when it comes to that.
The Halifax Firefighters Association and her colleagues are celebrating her achievement.
On the training grounds, when I was working with her, I knew she had my back and I had hers, and that's how it was supposed to be. So she was a great team player.
It's a lot of crashing and banging, and it's a very rough sport. I've watched a lot of rugby. Same on the fire ground sometimes. You got to be rough and tough and beating the pad and smashing, and she's definitely capable of doing both of those things.
Originally from New Brunswick, she found a home at the Halifax Tars Rugby Club after moving to Nova Scotia, where she's played for both the men's and women's teams.
It's unbelievable. The interest from the youth and the senior players of just watching our teammate on screen is fantastic. And what it's done for the game locally, just the overall interest and the excitement around Team Canada.
The Tars are also enjoying being in the spotlight.
We got mentioned by the commentators the other day as a club, and that in its own makes people playing for the club just so proud.
De Marchand was part of the Canadian team that took silver in the 2014 World Cup and is hoping to go one step further this time.
Just knowing that people are watching you and that you're doing things that make them proud, it's always something that pushes you forward throughout the game and throughout this whole long journey for a World Cup.
Canada has already qualified for the knockout stages. Gareth Hampshire, CBC News, Halifax.
It has been a very hot summer here in Nova Scotia, and there were definitely some days that were too hot to walk your dog outside. A Halifax business is helping pups get their exercise with a mobile, air-conditioned dog gym. It's called a Wagon Wheels, and it has more benefits than keeping your pets cool. The CBC's Rob Dublé met up with the business this summer.
So a little bit about Wagon Wheels. It's dog cardio on the go. We basically come to your house to run your dog. A typical session for a dog looks like rolling up. Owner lets the dog out, sometimes on a leash, sometimes the dog is barreling down the driveway, and then setting them up with the harness, and then just hooking them up to the treadmill, and then really engaging them with a toy. Hopefully they have a high prey drive, so they want to chase something, and engaging with them, praising them, and just telling them that they're a good boy or girl. Where I got the idea for Wagon Wheels, it's not an original idea. It started in the southern United States, where it gets too hot to walk your dog, and it made sense to do it in Halifax because very much like southern United States where it gets too hot to walk your dog, we have the opposite problem where it's just garbage weather 8 to 10 months of the year, and then in the summer, a lot of people don't know, anything over 21 degrees actually starts becoming dangerous temperatures to exercise your dog.
Good job, Brucey. Good job.
So Bruce is a golden retriever. He's about 3.5 years old, and we've started with Wagon Wheels about 3 or 4 months ago, and it's a part of his weekly routine now. We take him for lots of walks. He goes to the park, he swims. He's a very active dog, but understandably, he doesn't always get the opportunity to run as fast as he can. So I think for him, he gets a lot of enjoyment from being able to, not be confined by the pace of which I'm walking. He loves getting that ability to go as fast as he can, and he's built quite the rapport actually with Spencer as well, so he gets pretty excited to see him and, get some petting and enjoying his company as well.
Most dogs, almost all dogs, need more than just a walk a day. They need to run, and this really helps a lot of dogs really tap into that natural instinct to chase, run after something, herd something, give them a sense of fulfillment, right? I think it's about 55% of Canadian dogs are overweight, so this is a great way to manage their weight too.
Yes, a misty Friday evening out there. Ryan is up next with his full weather forecast. We'll see you after the break.
This weather update is brought to you by Access Wellness Nova Scotia. Book your appointment today for free, confidential mental wellness support.
And we've got Ryan back with his full forecast. And as you said in the headline, it's sort of like a midsummer weekend forecast that we're expecting.
Yeah, that's right. It's very, very warm and muggy, and they're seeing a big surge in heat in the west part of Canada as well, and a big pocket of cold air settling into central Canada. In Geraldton, Ontario, which is in northwestern Ontario, a few flakes flying this morning.
Oh my goodness, that is early.
And a high of just 4.
Wow.
So that gives you a sense of the players on the table, doing the
We
old...
don't want that just yet.
Not yet.
It's too soon.
If you're a fan of summer, enjoy this weekend because it will feel very summer-like. Have a look at our webcam. This is from Peggy's Cove, and yeah, lots of folks always on the go there, and a beautiful shot as always. And yes, the fog is going to be rolling in to Peggy's as we move through this evening. And as we look at the temperatures out there right now, right around 20 degrees, even along the coast, because those water temps are right near 20 degrees pretty much everywhere across the province right now. Bay of Fundy near 14, but again, lots of fluctuation there every day with the tides coming in and out. So it's hard for that body of water to heat up like the rest of them without that surface layer in place. Note those temps. Yeah, 27 at Keji, where the sun's been breaking in this afternoon. The winds in from the south, that's where they're going to be again tomorrow, sustained near 20, gusting to 40. So that earlier activity of the shower and drizzle activity starting to pull away with that sun coming in. That's where the temps have been popping. And we've got this frontal boundary. And again, wrapping into the backside of this system is that fall-like air. And yeah, it's definitely been a cool day today, as I said, in northwestern Ontario. Thunder Bay just at 10, Winnipeg at 16, and you can see Vancouver at 22, Calgary at 20, Edmonton at 22 degrees. And there is the, zooming back in for us, the overnight lows tonight, which are 17 to 19. A summer-like night tonight. Chances for showers clearing away, and then a pretty quiet night overall, but with that mugginess in place, a bit of an uncomfortable sleep, and those fog patches rolling back in. Saturday, likely a bit sluggish to start. And then we'll see a mix of sun and cloud developing into the afternoon. Fog patches likely still lingering along parts of the coast, so be mindful of that, but it looks like retreating enough that we should see a pretty decent beach day, I think, along the Atlantic coastline. Now, as we look into the afternoon and evening, there's that wet weather starting to build in New Brunswick. We'll see a couple of spotty showers possible into Saturday evening for Nova Scotia, but overall it looks like we are going to stay dry here until Sunday. Temperatures across Cape Breton for Saturday ranging between 23 to 29, feeling more like 30 to 34, 35 with the humidex here on Saturday. So it's going to feel very warm, obviously, and into the eastern parts of the mainland and central parts of the mainland, similar story. Feeling near 30 along parts of the coast, feeling more like 35, 36 up towards Cobequid Bay and into the Annapolis Valley tomorrow. Yeah, it's going to definitely feel warm. I mean, temperatures near 30, plus the humidity, feeling mid-30s, and into the southwest, onshore winds keeping temps a bit cooler, but it'll be toasty there as well. Saturday evening, starting to see those showers moving through into Sunday morning, and we are looking at Sunday scattered showers, and it's not going to be a blanket shot of rain that comes through and drops a consistent amount, unfortunately. And so it'll be hit and miss, and we're hoping to squeeze out every last drop, as we'll show you here with the outlook. You can see temperatures low to mid-20s for the most part on Sunday, maybe a bit milder in through Cape Breton. And then into Sunday night, more showers lingering into Monday morning and then clearing away as the winds shift and we see the fresher air mass coming in. Rainfall outlook. Building it through New Brunswick Saturday. Here's our shot for Nova Scotia into Sunday and Monday. Generally 10 to 20 millimeters. Potential here for a bit more along the Atlantic coastline. And so we'll, again, hope for that. And there's the muggy meter, which is mighty muggy in through the weekend. Then that big crash and that fall air next week. And even if it creeps up a little bit, it does look like it is going to be, yes, fresher air, more seasonal air. But don't fret. Temperatures still near 20 degrees. That's seasonal for this time of year and still fine indeed. But certainly back to those coolish mornings next week.
Yeah, right on track again.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for that, Ryan.
Thank you.
A Buy Canadian push, a jump in tourism numbers, and a hot, dry summer have all combined to create a beer crunch on Prince Edward Island. Some local breweries are struggling to keep up with demand, and some are even running out of product. The CBC's Wayne Thibodeau reports.
Beer cans are selling just as fast as they're coming off this assembly line. This summer has been big for PEI's craft brewing industry.
Everybody will refer to the whole Trump factor and how Canadians decided to stay at home, maybe travel domestically east-west. That's the big one. Other ones that interest rates coming down, the bridge fare being cut to $20. I think there's just a lot have played into making this year a very good year for tourism.
Earlier this summer, one of the big players in the island's craft beer business shut down. The closure of Upstreet has opened new opportunities for other beer makers.
Those craft beer drinks will be looking at alternatives, as they go do the purchasing, and that market share will be spread among the existing craft breweries.
So these are some plans that...
Lone Oak hopes to pick up some of that business. It purchased Upstreet's downtown location. Renovations are now underway. This is what it will look like when it's done. Jarrett Murphy says the timing is right to expand. They're seeing double-digit growth this year. So much so, they're literally running out of beer.
It's a good problem to have, but it is a reality of the problem that we face this year with the demand that some local producers, including ourselves here at Lone Oak, we're running out of beer. And those are some of the challenges that we're going to look to correct in the future. But again, it is a problem, but a good problem.
Breweries outside of Charlottetown are seeing the spike in sales too.
We saw it right from the beginning of June. It hit hard and fast, unlike any summer before. It was such a diverse group that it was really hard to pinpoint, but there was for sure that sense of wanting to buy local, stay in Canada. And from the American perspective, we had a lot of them say, Canadians aren't visiting us, so we'll visit you.
Island breweries say they're confident beer sales will stay strong into the fall. They say the cut in bridge tolls should result in more day trips to the island. There are also a number of big events coming up on the calendar, including SOMO, the PEI Shellfish Festival, and Fall Flavors. Wayne Thibodeau, CBC News, Charlottetown.
Coming up, an expert explains why Nova Scotia's trees might be especially vulnerable this hurricane season. The hot, dry weather has been hard on Nova Scotia's forests. And for a look at how the trees might fare going forward, I'm joined by Peter Dunker, Professor Emeritus from Dalhousie University and founder of the Halifax Tree Project. So when you keep an eye on the trees in the province, as an overview, what's the situation right now?
What I see, if anything special, is stress. And that stress shows up in the foliage, first of all. And so I've heard that some people have been observing earlier leaf color change. But here in Halifax, what I've been observing is leaf curling and leaf browning. And that shows both of those are signs that the trees are under stress, probably moisture stress, given the kind of weather we've had in the past 3-4 months.
Now, we're in the middle of hurricane season. We haven't had one yet, but if a big storm does roll in, given the stress that these trees are under, how would that perhaps shape the damage that we could see?
That's a puzzling kind of topic to address, and it depends a bit, or maybe quite a bit, on the amount of moisture we actually get in advance of the hurricane. So at present, with these small rainfalls we've had, the soils are very dry. Dry soils hold roots better than wet soils do. Saturated soils are slippery and roots can slip through. So if we got a hurricane without any new moisture, but just the moisture from the hurricane, then probably the trees could have a chance to stand up better, and maybe the winds will cause them to break rather than uproot. If we did get a lot of moisture in advance and it was able to infiltrate in the soils, then we could get more uprooting. But you know, it depends so much on the strength of the hurricane and where we are situated in the wind profile of the hurricane coming through various parts of the province.
Of course, we already have a lot of trees down from Fiona.
Yes, we do. So a new hurricane won't have anything to do with those. Those are perhaps giving us a higher fire hazard than we would like, because downed trees in dry weather become useful and become fuel. But maybe it may turn out that a recent hurricane will have put down the trees that are weak, and the remaining trees are a little bit stronger because they stood up during the hurricane. Trees that have experienced a lot of wind get a strengthening of their roots, and sometimes a strengthening of parts of the crown that have experienced all this pressure from the wind. So I'm not imagining that the fact that we had Fiona in 2023 will make much of a difference to what the damage profile will be with a new hurricane.
How much more vulnerable are the weakened trees to disease or pests? Does that make a difference?
Yes, it does. Weak trees have lower defenses in the event of whatever bugs, pestilence is coming their way. So probably the emerald ash borer damage that we're seeing around the city and out in Bedford and elsewhere is exacerbated by the drought. And there are other pests as well that are going after the trees, like the Japanese beetles. It was really bad last year. I've seen lots of evidence of stress in the trees from Japanese beetles. So the drought intersects with those, weakens the trees, but I wouldn't say that there would be an issue with one season of drought on the overall health of trees and what the hurricanes would mean for that.
Well, looking ahead to maple syrup season, would there be any impact given just this year's drought on the trees or future production?
Yeah, so I did some reading about that, and I discovered to my surprise that the sugars taken from a tree in syruping season could have been stored in the tree for a long time, maybe a starch and then converted to sugar. Taking sap from a tree each year only withdraws 3 to 4% of the total starch and sugar mass that the tree has available for this purpose. So I think 1 year of drought probably won't make that much difference to syruping. But if we had several droughts through the summertime, then those starch and sugar stores start to get reduced, and the trees are using up as much as they can to survive, let alone reproduce and flourish.
Right. All right, well, thanks so much for your expertise on this. We really appreciate it.
Super. I'm glad to help.
Coming up, new data says Canada's unemployment rate nearly reached its highest point since 2016 as the economy shed 66,000 jobs in August. And 2 Canadians are confirmed to have died in a streetcar crash in Portugal. They've been identified as a Quebec couple.
Think you've been scammed or have information about a potential fraud? I'm Angela McIver, a reporter here at CBC Nova Scotia. I'm here to listen to your concerns and track down answers, especially when it comes to your money.
Welcome back. Prime Minister Mark Carney has rolled out a series of measures aimed at domestic economic growth and easing the pressure of U.S. tariffs on key industries. As Ashley Burke reports, the new measures may signal that the trade troubles aren't going anywhere anytime soon.
The Prime Minister visiting this aerospace factory near Toronto to lay out the first phase of his plan to try and transform Canada's economy. He says it needs to withstand the shock and upheaval caused by Donald Trump's tariffs and become far less reliant on the U.S.
Workers displaced from their jobs. Supply chains that have existed for decades disrupted. Companies forced to change where they find their materials and their products. And all of this is causing an extreme uncertainty.
Carney says all that uncertainty is holding back massive amounts of investment, slowing economic growth, and just today new numbers came out showing Canada's unemployment rate is the highest it's been since the pandemic. The Prime Minister announcing a series of new measures to help Canadian industries hit hard by Trump's tariffs.
The government's introducing a new comprehensive Buy Canadian policy that will move from best efforts to buy Canadian to a clear obligation to do so.
Mark Carney says he's also expanding support and loans for small and medium-sized businesses, offering a new incentive for canola and agriculture producers, and delaying a plan to force automakers to hit minimum sale levels for electric vehicles, a move the auto sector says it asked for after facing challenges for years.
Every single manufacturer here committed to making an EV or a battery or a plug-in hybrid. 85% plus of the product that are made here sold to the U.S. And the Americans said, we're ending the incentives, we're ending the industrial support. Let's go back to pickup trucks and dead dinosaurs. And the factories here are geared to push product there.
The Prime Minister's announcement here today is the strongest sign yet that American tariffs against some Canadian sectors are here to stay for the foreseeable future. This as Canada's talks continue with the Trump administration to try and reach a series of small deals to get some Canadian industries relief. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Mississauga, Ontario.
For a second straight month, the number of jobs in the country has shrunk. Stats Canada's report for August puts unemployment at 7.1%. That's up half a percentage point from January, and excluding the pandemic lockdown years, it's the highest since 2016. There were 66,000 fewer jobs last month, mostly part-time. The sluggishness was not widely expected, and combined with stubborn inflation, it poses a dilemma for the Bank of Canada for its next interest rate announcement on September 17th. An investigation continues into Wednesday's crash of a streetcar in Portugal, and so does the morning. 16 people were killed, and included in that number were 2 Canadians. With their story, here's the CBC's Chris Brown.
The full international scope of the tramcar crash is coming into focus as a memorial at the accident site grows, and Portuguese authorities confirm the dead includes 11 foreigners. Among them, André Bergeron and Blandine Do of Quebec.
He was on vacation in Portugal for his 70th birthday, and his wife invited him as a gift, for his birthday. They were a happy couple. He just retired. He was just starting to enjoy, have fun.
Eric Bergeron is André's brother. The couple were prominent archaeologists who worked together at the Quebec Conservation Centre in Quebec City. Wednesday was to be the last day of their Portuguese holiday, and when news of the crash broke, Bergeron says he feared the worst.
I continued to text him, text his wife, say, are you there? Are you there? Are you okay? Delivered. So, okay, the phone is on. They don't respond. Something's wrong. And their daughter contacted the B&B where they were residing, and they were supposed to fly out. And they said, well, they didn't come back to pick up their luggage.
Then came the call from Global Affairs with the terrible news.
I'm not processing it yet, emotionally speaking, but I've been up and down crying and not crying. So my 2 nieces are shattered, of course. Imagine you lose your 2 parents in one shot, bang, like that.
The early working theory is that the cable that guided the 2 funicular rail cars up the steep cobblestone streets snapped. Those who were killed or hurt were on the tram that was descending when it flew off the rails at high speed and hit a building. Bergeron says he met with investigators Friday, but they wouldn't reveal much about the cause of the crash.
They don't want to disclose too much. It's still ongoing. It's early days. I think that investigation will last months.
In a release, Quebec's Culture Ministry called the couple pillars of the restoration community, and it said Andre Bergeron was considered a pioneer in his field. Chris Brown, CBC News, Lisbon.
The Israeli military is stepping up attacks on Gaza City as troops prepare for a major ground offensive. One Israeli strike destroyed a 14-story building on Friday. Israeli officials say Hamas militants were using the building as a base of operations, a place to plan attacks and provide escape routes for other militants. The officials also say they issued an evacuation notice to building residents before the strike. Also Friday, Hamas published a video showing 2 hostages in a car. That came as Israelis attended demonstrations demanding a deal to secure the release of the remaining hostages. They were abducted when Hamas militants attacked Israel 700 days ago, killing more than 1,000 people and taking hundreds of others captive. Russian President Vladimir Putin is warning that Western troops deployed to Ukraine would be considered targets by Moscow forces. His comments came hours after European leaders re-pledged their commitment to provide potential peacekeeping force to Ukraine. Crystal Gamansing has the latest.
Well, speaking at a Russian economic forum, President Vladimir Putin said foreign military contingents in Ukraine would be legitimate targets. The threat comes the day after commitments were announced from 26 nations for a post-war reassurance force for Ukraine.
Что касается возможных контингентов воинских на Украине, но это одна из первопричин втягивания Украины в НАТО. Поэтому, если там будут появляться какие-то войска, особенно сейчас, в ходе ведения боевых действий, исходим из того, что это будут законные цели для их поражения.
The threat from Putin shouldn't come as a surprise. We've seen this before when Western weapon shipments started, for example. The Kremlin said those would be legitimate targets. Russian efforts to dissuade allies and weaken support for Ukraine has been an ongoing theme since the start of the full-scale invasion. One of the justifications the Kremlin gave for the full-scale invasion was to protect itself from NATO, as Ukraine was seeking to join the military alliance. In the years since, NATO has grown. Finland joined in 2023, Sweden the next year. And now there are commitments from the Coalition of the Willing for an international force with the goal of maintaining peace. Few details have been released, but today Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said it would involve thousands of foreign troops.
І також ми розуміємо, які країни що готові запровадити. А також це питання, про які ви сказали, що є інформація, що розгортання 10 тисяч. Я знов-таки не буду говорити про кількість, але важливо, що ми все це обговорюємо. Так, це буде точно не в одиницях, а в тисячах. І це факт, але про це ще трішечки зарано говорити.
Well, President Putin says if there is a peace agreement, foreign troops wouldn't be needed, that Moscow would respect the peace deal. At this point, there aren't even peace talks. U.S. President Donald Trump has been keen on getting a deal and said he would be speaking to Putin again in the near future. NBC, however, reports that Trump is losing hope for an agreement between Russia and Ukraine. Crystal Gamansing, CBC News, London.
The self-proclaimed Queen of Canada appeared in a Saskatchewan court on Friday. Romana Diderot faces charges of failure to comply with an undertaking and intimidation of a justice system participant. Ricky Manns faces similar charges. He owns the Old School in a small town where police conducted a raid on Wednesday. Diderot and her followers have been living there for 2 years. Police arrested 16 people during the raid and later released them without charges. But they re-arrested Diderot and Mance when they violated an order not to contact each other. Police say they raided the compound after receiving a report of firearms at the compound. Officers seized 13 imitation semi-automatic handguns, ammunition, and many electronic devices. Diderot formed a fringe political party in 2020, and her followers are known for spreading conspiracy theories. There's another threat in Canada that scientists are blaming on climate change. It's a virus relatively new to human populations here, and it remains rare, but that may change. Jennifer Yoon reports.
A rare but potentially deadly virus spread by a mosquito bite. There's a new case of Eastern equine encephalitis virus in Hamilton, Ontario.
While this is normally identified in horses in rural areas, there is the possibility for spread to humans.
The virus killed one person in Ottawa last year. Infections are becoming more frequent, with a handful of cases in recent years, according to experts. Symptoms can include fever, headache, and seizures. Once the virus reaches the brain, it kills about 1 in 3 people infected. There's no cure or vaccine available for humans.
EEE is one of the deadliest mosquito-borne brain infections in the United States.
On average, it's reported to infect about 11 Americans each year. Now experts fear the disease is settling north of the border.
This infection is still, for the moment, rare. But for all we know, this single case in Hamilton may be the canary in the coal mine.
I had never wanted to see triple E, in humans, and here we have it.
Climate change is to blame, say experts, with mosquito populations moving with a warming climate.
We are getting so many range expansions of mosquitoes that we're just trying to play catch up all the time.
Scientists are urging vigilance.
We can't just say, oh, there's only one case, we've dodged the bullet, we're going to go into winter, we don't have to worry about it again. Because mosquitoes and viruses and germs, they're very resilient.
And there are ways to protect yourself.
To wear long, light-colored pants and sleeves, wear deep-containing bug sprays, to manage any standing pools of water that they might have on their property.
At least for this season, until the weather gets colder and the mosquitoes die off. Jennifer Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
Canadian Gabby Dabrowski has won the women's doubles title at the U.S. Open with Erin Routliffe of New Zealand. The third-seeded pair beat the top-ranked team of American Taylor Townsend and Czech Katarina Siniakova in straight sets.
Thank you.
The 6-4, 6-4 victory is the second Grand Slam doubles title for Dabrowski and Routliffe. They won the same event 2 years ago. They've now won 7 WTA titles as a pair. It's the 4th Grand Slam title of Dabrowski's career. The 33-year-old Ottawa native has also won a pair of mixed doubles titles. Well, strength in basic materials sector helped Canada's main stock index finish over 130 points higher on Friday, while U.S. markets were down. Here is a look at the numbers as we head to break.
This weather update is brought to you by Access Wellness Nova Scotia. Book your appointment today for free, confidential mental wellness support.
All right, back to wrap things up. And the weekend sort of has a little bit for everybody. Some sun, some desperately needed rain. Thankfully, not the snowflakes you were talking about. Where was that, in Ontario?
Yeah, Geraldton, Ontario. And actually, a correction there. That was yesterday morning that it did snow there, but it still. High of 4 in Geraldton in northwestern Ontario yesterday.
Different story here.
Different story here. The warm air surging up the coast, some mugginess as well. Now, I had a few graphics to show you here, but my computer decided it was weekend time already.
Took a nap.
So it's frozen, but it's frozen on this scene, so I can at least show you this, which is the rainfall outlook.
Full transparency here.
Yes, absolutely. So at least we can show you something.
Yeah.
And again, the rainfall totals for the weekend generally looking set to range between about 10 and 20 millimeters of rain. You can see that pocket that rolls up through New Brunswick with a little bit higher totals there. That is kind of an indication that we will see some heavier pockets of rain as this line comes through. And you can see along the Atlantic coastline as well, there is the potential, a couple of little pockets in yellow there. And some models are showing the potential for some 20-plus totals. Halifax and the Eastern Shore by the time we get to Monday afternoon. As that line comes through, what we will be seeing is that fresher air mass coming in. And so we'll go from midsummer feel this weekend with the warm temps and the mugginess back to, I don't want to say a fall-like feel, but
maybe reality?
A reality check for next week for sure as temperatures settle in. And hopefully my computer will be
it'll wake up by Monday.
Operational, wake up by the time we get to Monday.
All right, thanks, Ryan. Well, British actor Bella Ramsey has faced zombies many times in the TV show The Last of Us. But coming face to face with a Madame Tussauds wax lookalike is a first for them.
I was going to be in like shorts and a t-shirt and my trainers because I'm like, that's me. But then I was told that I'd be in this like fancy area with fancy people. So I was like, oh, I should probably be a bit fancier. So I'm wearing the Last of Us Season 2 premiere outfit.
Ramsey, who has also starred in Game of Thrones, called the whole experience surreal. The actor plays a survivor in the dystopian HBO drama The Last of Us. The show's been nominated for 16 Primetime Emmy Awards this year.
Ramsey is also in the running for Outstanding Lead Actress. This year's Emmys will take place on September 14th in Los Angeles.
Pretty close, huh?
Yeah.
All right, that is it for us tonight. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Good night.